Beginning in the mid-1960s, a group of artists working primarily in New York City began to take up land as a subject, but also as a material in the practice of their art. Sharing overlapping interests with minimal and conceptual art, these radical, pioneering land artists sought to transcend the limitations of classical painting and sculpture and the orthodox parameters of making art for the traditional gallery space. These artists sought to create works on a monumental scale in the vast and desolate desert spaces of the American Southwest. Today, these works remain impressive for their audacity and ambition.
Everyone was very busy in their studios at that time. I think everybody viewed themselves as an explorer. You know, we were artists, explorers.
My personal experience was that land art or earth art, from what the artists would tell me, that they were looking for a larger canvas to work on.
And we really thought that the work we were doing was going to end galleries. We ignored certain things. We ignored the gallery dealer.
I feel totally in competition with the museums and galleries, that the magazine was put together as an alternative to museums and galleries.
There were kind of troublemakers, confusing the marketing. In fact, they didn't have any market. And not only because they were difficult, but also because people were not able to grasp them.
People thought it was doing violence to art. You know, how can you call that art?
The person I was most interested in was Smithson, mainly because Smithson wrote, and wrote better than most curators wrote.
There was something, I thought, basically satanic about Bob. He seemed to be connected with the dark forces. You know, his work, his view, his writings have this apocalyptic nature almost. Bob was insane, so he was easy to get along with. My relationship with Michael Heiser was always rather difficult. I think he was quite competitive, and Michael Heiser could be extremely, you might say, temperamental. They were rivals. They both were into earthworks and moving in that direction, so there was a bit of tension between them.
Walter de Maria, he was very secret. He doesn't want to tell you what is the meaning of the work. Like Michael, they want you to experience the work. They want to enter in the work.
There was really so much that erupted during that period.
The zeitgeist was very much influenced by the Vietnam War, which was the biggest issue in American society, not just political issue, it was religious issue, scientific issue. Most artists, of course, were really against it.
I think land art was certainly one of the more physical factions of conceptual art. It meant real time, it meant the real world. Something like the Vietnam War was something that occurred on the same battlefield. It occurred in the same system as the real world.
The war was a terrible thing, as frustrating as it was, and as terrible as it was. I think today is much worse. It's just anxiety hanging over us completely.
The idea of land art is related to the idea of the globe, especially after the spaceship. The first picture of the Earth gives you the idea that our Earth is an object. So the idea for these artists after 1963 is that you can shape something which is a sphere. Another element that changed the vision of art was flying by airplane. So the idea of looking from the high level is changing the perspective of your knowledge about art, because you have a sphere, which is the Earth, and you can design on it. You can draw. The aerial view is a change in history of art. Also Duchamp, you know, all the work of Duchamp is aerial. It's also the champion point of view. It's coming from a perspective that Duchamp creates, but also the airplane creates. And then the knowledge of architects that build the pyramids. It's all this kind of convergence of information, technology, information, and history that makes land art.
Henry Moore said, when he was asked, where did he get his ideas for his great sculptures? He said, I just continued doing the things as an adult that I did as a kid. And I think art has a lot to do with that. Not because art is childish, but before a child learns to read, they have a very physical relationship with the world. It's all about connecting with things in the world.
I love when Walter was saying, you know, my new brush is a caterpillar, or that the earthquakes are the best way of shaping a sculpture, which is the earth. The attraction, naturally, is the big space in America. Grand Canyon, the desert, you know, the idea of walking for hours and not seeing anybody. And in America, you really drive for 2 hours, you don't see anybody.
All of these places, and all Nancy was accompanying him. She found herself out in the desert then. And yes, it was her time. She was beginning to come into her own thing.
More and more became an image in my mind that I really wanted to make tunnels, and tunnels that you could walk through and look through. Then by putting the holes in the top that are in the configuration of stars in the 4 different constellations, and the holes varying in size according to the magnitude of the stars they represented. By doing that, I was using the sun, which is also a star, and using its light, the starlight, to shine through the star holes and cast a pattern of light on the bottom of the tunnels, sort of bringing the sky down to earth, or, you know, inverting the sky-ground relationship, so that when you're walking in the middle of the day in the tunnels, you're walking on stars, and it's, you know, it creates a shadowed environment with the star spots.
The work can only be seen in durational time. It isn't something you just look at and get and walk away. When you're out in the middle of the desert, it's so vast, you can be overwhelmed, but the tunnels will give you, you know, a framing device and an orienting device.